All right, all right. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome, guys and gals. We're going to wait for a couple folks to jump on here. I am super charged up today. We had over the weekend, we had our Ultimate Creative REI Blueprint. So an event we were going to go live here, do an in-person event here in St. Louis. And ultimately, people just didn't want to travel. Besides that, it's pretty darn cold here. So I don't blame them one bit. So we decided to take it all online, and we just had a lot of fun. A great group of people, lots of great questions, and it's just a blast. I get all charged up by that stuff, and I don't know if any of you have ever really been in the zone for like I was totally zoned in on this. Just nothing else mattered, and after you get done with those things, you're either one or two things. You're either super charged up like I am, or maybe Friday night, I probably wasn't feeling the same way. Friday night, after we got done with our that full day, it was more of I almost felt like, you know, how when you wake up, you're not quite there, you're not quite ready to go. After that first Friday night, I felt like I had just woken up from a long sleep, and my brain was pretty fried. But yesterday turned that around for me, and I'm like super ready to go today. So hope you've all have had a great weekend. By the way, that we are actually going to post that out there on our website. It's not going to be free. There's going to be a product we're going to put out there. It's going to be an evergreen product for us. And but it was a really, really great weekend. It went far better than I could have ever imagined. It was awesome. Really good stuff. So hope everybody's doing okay. Let me throw the chat up here. Hey, Mr. Winkleman, how you doing, buddy? Scott was on the. You've been a busy man this weekend. You were on all weekend long. Let me see here. This platform I'm using is telling me something here. Want to increase your engagement on Facebook? Invite your audience to connect their Facebook restream. Absolutely. Hey, I'm not sure. I know you were on the call this weekend, Mr. or Mrs. Cunningham. Not sure. It just says W. Cunningham. Actually, if you look in the drive that we shared, those recordings are already in the drive. So you have access to those recordings right now. All right. Let me see what this says here. Okay. It says I'm supposed to send you to this. Those of you on Facebook, I'm supposed to send you to this this particular address if you want your names to be shown. If you're joining us through Facebook, we can't see who actually is commenting in the comment section here. So I use Restream to stream out to all these different platforms, and it's telling me that if you want your name to be shown, you have to go to this particular address. So I'm going to throw this out there. I hope that makes it out there. If you, like I said, click on that if you guys want. If you're on Facebook and you guys want your names to be shown in the comments section. Okie doke. Let's get this started and let me make sure everything's set up here correctly. I'm going to throw the chat overlay up here, so you guys are welcome to ask any questions or comments, whatever you would like to do. And I'm also going to throw up, let's see here. Let's throw this one up here. Okay. This week's topic, we are going to, we're just going to ask a question. All right. And this might seem a little strange in the beginning, but I promise I'm going to get around to having this make sense for everyone. So the question is going to be, what is the first step you should take to get a creative real estate deal done? Now, this answer is crazy, stupid, super simple. All right. It's super simple. But as things go, a lot of times simple does not mean easy. And so for some of you, this is not going to be so easy. But we first have to define what a creative deal, quote, creative deal really is. You know, the term creative financing gets thrown around like a hot potato. It's like, it's everywhere right now. You're hearing it. People are coming out of the woodwork all of a sudden, particularly, and not to pick on, I tend to pick on wholesalers a lot, but not to pick on wholesalers. You're seeing all of a sudden, all of these wholesalers are all of a sudden these creative finance experts, and it just kills me. It kind of makes me smile, and I just want to shake my head, but it is what it is. They've got a product, so I mean, hey, what are you going to do? But it's a very, very broad term, and really for good reason. There are tons and tons of ways to finance a deal without using traditional types of financing on your real estate deals. There are all kinds of ways to get deals done, quote, creatively, but nearly 100% of the time when you hear the term creative financing, what we're talking about are terms, right? We're not really talking about price so much. We're talking about terms. What are the terms of the deal, and how can we structure those terms so that we can build an offer and actually execute on the terms without creating tons of risk and or expense, but also creating a win for every party involved in the deal, right? So you have different forms of terms, but most of them actually, when we're talking about creative financing, they almost always involve some form of seller financing, right? So you have, I'm just going to give you some examples. You have maybe full or partial seller carrybacks, where your seller is actually going to finance your deal or part of your deal. They may fully finance the whole thing, or they may finance just a small portion of that deal, or whatever terms you agree to them on. In either case, many times your seller is going to they're going to want some skin in the game, right? They're going to want you to either pay them what we call walk-in money, or they're going to want some form of down payment, right? So on that down payment, let's say they're going to go ahead and they're going to carry, they're going to carry 90% of that, they're going to give you a loan for 90% LTV. They're going to give you a loan for 90% of the deal. So they're going to want 10% down. Now, do you think it matters to that seller where those funds come from? I can tell you 99% of the time, it's going to matter to a bank, right? It's definitely going to matter where those funds come if you're getting bank financing, almost all the time. But a seller, on the other hand, they could really care less where that down payment money comes from. They just don't care as long as it's paid, all right? So let me ask you a question then. If that's the case, do you think you can get creative with how you source those funds that you need for that deal or for that down payment? And the answer is, of course you can. You can get super creative on on how you source those funds. And the cool thing about it is obviously if you're sourcing funds from somewhere else and your seller is carrying that mortgage for you, or carrying that loan for you, then obviously the benefit there is that you have very little to nothing out of pocket. All right. So a couple of sources for those deals. Excuse me. Excuse me. One of the most basic forms of down payment funding comes from private lenders, right? This is an excellent alternative for people who have individual retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, things of that sort, that they'd like to actually either capture larger ROI on their money, or they're looking to just to get into real estate, or maybe both, possibly both. So in my business, we actually market to people like this. And what we do is we help them to get their IRA or their 401k accounts converted over to self-directed IRAs or self-directed 401ks. And if you guys are looking for, if this is something that you guys are, interested in doing with your private lenders, or maybe you're going to go out market for more private lenders who, and maybe, I don't know, it's kind of an ideal situation because it's a perfect model, obviously, because with 401ks and IRAs, it allows a lot of these folks to get into real estate with relatively smaller amounts of money. That's why it's so perfect for IRAs and 401ks. But if you guys want to, if you're going to implement this in your business, a couple of really good companies to work with for these custodian companies are Equity Trust and Quest. They are excellent companies that deal with this type of situation. Let me switch over from my bullet points here and make sure we've got no questions. I don't see Miguel on here this morning. What's going on? The guy must be sick or something. He's always on here. All right. Okay, like I said, this is a perfect model for some of those folks due to the smaller amounts of money that you're looking to borrow. Right? They have those, generally speaking, most 401ks and IRAs. I mean, I'm speaking in generalities for sure. But most of those are, probably carry just enough to fund, several down payments, but a lot of them are not going to have these huge amounts. I mean, again, I'm speaking in generalities. I don't know that for sure. But that seems to be the case with a lot of the people that we get converted over into self-directed. So the benefit to them is they're going to see greater returns through real estate than they would, paper stocks or whatever they may be invested in at the moment. So, wow, excuse me. This always happens to me when I get to running my mouth. It seems like it opens up with like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the winter. Maybe it's the dry weather that we have here right now. Then we're going to move over. So you have this idea, or this form of financing where you are borrowing money from folks who, it could be a 401k, it could be an IRA, it could be just their funds, their savings account. It doesn't really matter. The point is that the seller's not going to care where that money comes from. So I want to move, though, into really what is my favorite way of getting funds for down payments. And that is through equity sharing. I love equity sharing. And so what we have to then talk about is equity financing versus debt financing. And if you don't know the difference, debt financing is going to be in the form of a loan where you have a promissory note, you have a mortgage, whether you have whether you're in a mortgage state or a deed of trust state, doesn't really matter. But debt financing is where you're going to have a promissory note and a mortgage. You're going to have a set payment that has to go out to your lender at on a recurring basis. Usually that's quarterly most of the time. Sometimes it's monthly, but we like to do quarterly. But with equity financing, it's a little bit different. You're actually giving your lender a larger piece of the pie it's got built-in protection. So you're giving them much more protection in the deal because your lender actually now owns part of the asset. They are an owner of the asset. You have given them equity in the deal. So what you're doing is you're offering equity in a deal in exchange for down payment money. And what that's going to do, it's usually going to cost you more in the long run because you are giving up a percentage or a portion of ownership in that deal over a long period of time. So let's say that, I don't know, let's say that you offer 25% equity ownership in a deal in exchange for, say, let's keep it simple. Let's say $25,000 in down payment money from your lender. So you're giving them 25% equity for in exchange for a $25,000 stake in equity in the deal, and you're going to take that money. You're going to use it as the down payment. Your lender, in this case, they are going to share in any and all profits. This is no longer just a payment to them, a set amount, a set dollar amount that goes to them every quarter. They are now an owner of this deal. And so what that means is they are going to get that 25%, they're going to get 25% of that net cash flow. And they're going to have a 25% stake in the overall, they're going to have a 25% stake in the appreciation, all the net profits. They are an owner. All right. So when you sell that property or you refi it out, and maybe you're going to pay them off, they are going to receive not just their investment, their $25,000 back, but they're going to get a 25%. They're going to get 25% of the net profit on the sale or the refi as well. So you can see how that can be, it can be more expensive for you for sure. But I really, really love this model because number one, it helps me to do more deals. I can do more deals because this really incentivizes lenders, because their investment is not just backed by the asset, but it's actually backed by ownership in the asset. So it's, if you were to take a loan from them, yes, they, and more than likely, it just depends on what type of deal it is. If it's a subject to deal, they're going to be in second position, right? So if you take a loan from them, they can still foreclose on that deal, no problem. But it's going to be a long and lengthy process. On the other hand, if you offer equity in your deal, they actually own a portion of it. Depending on how you have it set up, they can, if at any time they would like to get their money back out of that deal, they can sell their equity, their portion of equity. They can absolutely do that. They have an equitable interest in that deal, and they can sell their ownership interests. Say they need their cash back for some reason, right? So, but we also incentivize them with a guarantee. This is one thing that we do that is really kind of unique. And I don't know, maybe some other people out there do it. I've just never heard of it. But we also incentivize them with the guarantee that once they fund one of our deals, we are never going to ask them for another cash infusion. Right. So it's really incumbent upon us at that point to make sure that that our exit is a sound and rock solid exit, because we do not want to have to. Most of the time, our exit is going to be seller finance on single families. So if we borrow down payment funds from a lender and we make them an equitable owner, we're not going to ask them for another cash infusion. So we got to really, really do our due diligence and make sure that that's going to make sense for us, right? Let me make sure we've got no questions here. All righty. So moving on. Those examples that I just gave, they really only scratch the surface of what is possible if we just start thinking in terms of creative approaches to getting our deals done. All right. In either of those scenarios, take a wild guess. I'm sure you already figured this out, but how much money do I actually have in those deals? How much money do you think I have in those deals? The answer is zero. I have no money in those deals. Or, at most, a very, very small amount, right? So I can tell you this for sure. And people tend to think I'm embellishing this, but this is the absolute truth. The most amount of money I have ever put into any one of my deals, and I've done quite a few deals, particularly subject to deals. I'm really, really big on subject to. But the most amount of money I have ever put into any one of my deals of my own cash is $8,000. And that might sound, like I said, like I'm embellishing or outrageous, but that is the absolute truth. I do not use my own cash to buy deals. All right. So this is how we operate. Um, and really, I've built my entire business for over the past going on 8 years now around these concepts. So let's go back and ask the question again. What does creative financing really mean? The answer to that question is probably better addressed if we explain what it is not. So here's what creative financing is not. All right. Creative financing is not going to a bank, applying for a loan, qualifying for that loan, providing years and years of personal financial information, possibly collateralizing other assets, risking your personal credit history, giving a blood sample, urine sample, stool sample, all of that stuff. And you know, I'm joking about that last part, but all of this stuff is going to be required. And not only is it required, but it's required on every single deal that you're going to do. Every deal you're going to have to. It's almost like you should just hand your information. If you're using one lender, just hand your information over to that lender and let them just keep it on file. And a lot of people actually do that. But you have to go through this process on every single property that you want to buy and you want to use bank lending on, right? Now, there are loan products out there like DSCR loans, that's debt service coverage ratio, that they will lend, but the loan is not based upon your particular financial situation. The loan is actually based upon the income that is generated from that asset as it relates to the debt that you're going to put on it, right? So that is a DSCR loan. You can go out there and read all about them. It's actually not a bad product, but it's not a bad product, and they also do cover a wide range of assets. They cover single families to apartment complex, other commercial properties. There are also DSCR loans for buying businesses, if any of you are interested in buying businesses. But guess what? 99% of those loan products, the DSCR loan products, are still based off of your personal credit history. And not only that, but you still have to go through all of the rigmarole of applying for and qualifying for these loans on every single deal you do, right? Most of the time. Sometimes I've never heard of a DSCR product that is in the form of a line of credit or anything like that. So in 99% of these cases, you're going to have to go through this same process, even with a DSCR loan. Okay. And there are tons of people out there who are willing to go through this process. But there is one major hurdle when we're talking about bank financing. And that is, I think we even talked about it over the weekend, that money loves speed. All right. So most of you know that in this business, we have to move fast. We have to. Deals come and go. And if we find a good deal, and depending on where that deal is sourced, the more people that know about it, the more expensive it becomes, right? You start creating this whirlwind, this environment of competition. And so we have got to move fast on our deals. This is a very, very competitive business. Now, think about this. If you have to apply for a loan on every deal, and maybe you have a line of credit that you can tap into, that's perfectly fine. But if you have to apply for a loan on every deal, well, I mean, you're just going to miss out. You're just going to miss out. And also, I want to mention that you can use hard money or transactional funding to take these deals down. But I would recommend on hard money or transactional funding that this is the only scenario that you would actually use hard money in. We want to try and stay away from hard money as much as we possibly can. It is just so darn expensive. And that can really, really hurt you. Imagine if you were able to, get a deal under contract and close on that deal without that added expense. Now you can make a better offer, right? You could, instead of paying, if you're doing your deal evaluation, you're going through the calculation, you have to figure in the cost of that hard money, and it's not going to be cheap. So imagine if you can eliminate that hard money altogether, and just deal directly, or build those numbers into your offer and make a better offer. Right? It's not going to work out that way every time, obviously, um, but hard money is going to cost, and it's just an expense that's totally unnecessary if you can wrap your mind, or begin to wrap your mind around these creative financing concepts. This is where we're going to win. All right. So I have a little something that, let me make sure we've got. Scott, that's an excellent point. Something that I didn't even think to put in my bullet points, but there are, with DSCR loans, there are tons of fees. There are definitely are prepayment penalties that I have seen. So excellent point. Thanks for the comment there. And it does take more time to close. I actually don't know. I don't use DSCR loans. I just know they're available. I have done some research on them, some studying on them, and I just it wasn't. There weren't too many of them that I was too many of those products that I was really impressed with. It could. Here's where they come in super handy: is if you've got a large rental portfolio, or a sizable rental portfolio, and you want to refinance that portfolio and it's performing. That's when they come in super handy, because they can refinance the whole package in a lot of cases if it's performing. So that's when it's a really good option for you. And it's more what they're designed to do anyway. So, all right. So, question I have is, why are we having this conversation? Like, what does this have to do with the topic of the day? And the topic of the day was what steps to take to get a creative deal done. The answer that I'm going to give you, like I said, super simple. It's not easy, but it is super simple. This is all about taking action. Everyone hears this. It comes from every single guru on the planet. Um, it just like just like hearing this term creative financing just comes out of the woodwork. You're going to hear this everywhere. Everyone talks about this, but this is one of those situations um, where I think they have this right. Unfortunately, I have to agree with everyone on that. I mean, not unfortunately, but I do agree with everyone on this. All right, take action. Take action. That's what we all hear. Action takers are money makers. I don't know how many times I've heard that one, right? We've all heard this. It's super cliche. And as burnt as I am about hearing that repeated over and over and over again, it is the truth. And if you are not taking action on the things that you learn, even you don't even have to take action on the things that you learn. I can tell you for sure, and we went over this this past weekend. I can tell you for sure. I gave a case study over this weekend on the very first deal that I ever did, and I'm telling you, it was a disaster. It was an absolute. I don't know if I conveyed it that well over the weekend during our event, but I mean, this thing was a disaster. It was a headache. It was stressful. I lost sleep over it. And I was working a full-time job at the time, and I lost sleep over this thing. I didn't know, I just didn't know. I didn't know anything about what I was doing, really. I mean, I knew some of the topics, some of the subjects, but I just didn't know the process. And it took a lot of energy, took a lot of my time, took a lot of me feeling embarrassed, and just really, really not knowing what to expect at the next turn. And it was terrifying. It was scary. But I think for me, I hated my job so much, and I was so determined to do something different. That's really what drove me to take the action on it. And I'm telling you, if you do this, good things happen. For me, on that deal, it was my very first deal. I bought that property subject to. I squeaked through closing. I to this day, I still don't know exactly how I made it through that. But I can tell you, I walked away with a check for $41,000 in profit over, I think it was right around 30K on that deal. And that's because I was just willing to get in there and get my hands dirty and learn this stuff. All right. So So to quote, I don't know if anybody's ever watched "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou." It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Some people just can't get through it. But I'm going to quote. There's a character in there. His name is Big Dan Teague. It's John Goodman. His character's name is Big Dan Teague. All right, and they're sitting in a restaurant, and Big Dan looks over at the other two characters, and he says, "I'm going to propose you a proposition." So that's what I'm going to do for you guys today. I'm going to propose you a proposition. Here it goes. What I want to do is I want to offer that the first person who reaches out to me who has either a deal under contract or has a verbally accepted offer that needs help structuring that deal creatively. I say, quote, creatively. I'm going to help you structure that deal. I'm going to help you get it to the closing table. All right. And I'm going to do this free of charge. And it's only going to be for one person. All right. And I did lie a little bit. This is not going to be absolutely free of charge. Right. It's not going to cost you any money, but it won't be free. All I'm going to ask is that I am able to document this process from the time you reach out to the very end when the deal closes. And you allow me to post the case study for everyone to watch and learn from. And this is going to go on all of my social media channels. All right. So, and also you're going to need to agree to be interviewed about the deal. I don't think that's such a bad deal, but you're going to have to agree to be interviewed about the deal and the process that we go through to get it to the closing table. All right. So if you've got a deal, you want to take me up on this offer, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to head over to our Facebook group. There's going to be I'll put a link in the description. There's going to be a link down there. If you're not part of our Facebook group, you can just search Facebook for Sub2 Empire, or you can search for a Facebook group called Creative Real Estate Investing Mastery. All right, that is our group. That is our public group. What I want you to do is look for this video, the video that we're doing right now. It will stay posted in that Facebook group, and leave a comment in the comment section there that says, I don't care what it says. Just say, I need help with a creative deal, or whatever you want to do, whatever you want to post in there. The very first one to do that, I'm going to reach out to you and we're going to do an evaluation of your deal. I'll give you a call. We'll do an evaluation of your deal. And first of all, we're going to make sure that you've got a deal. First of all, I mean, the numbers have to make sense. The cool thing about creative financing is sometimes the numbers don't make sense, but in a lot of cases, we can actually turn what you would consider a dead deal into a very profitable deal. And again, it's all going to have to do with terms. So that's what we'll be looking at. If we determine that you've got a good deal, we'll get started in the process of getting that deal to the closing table. Does that sound good? Is that fair? All right. By the way, if you're watching this video in Facebook right now and you have a deal, well, I suppose you've got an unfair advantage, right? So if you are not watching this, let me go ahead and I'll tell you what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and post this. Give me 1 second. I'll post our Facebook address here. I'll post our Facebook group address here in the chat. And where did my chat? Oh, I'm in the wrong damn thing. Okay. Jonathan, I love it. You know, you know the movie. Do not seek the treasure. That's awesome. All right, man. So there's the link to our Facebook group. I don't know what's going on here. Can you guys see me? Hear me? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Hey, give me 1 second here. I've been having and Scott can attest to this. If you guys can hear me, I've had internet issues all weekend. So let me try and reload this. Hold on. Okay, it looks like it's just reloading the chat. There we go. I don't know what's going on. This is crazy. Okay, so Um, quick recap. I mean, this video sounds like I'm just complaining about banks again, which I kind of am, but really the idea, the concept here, and really what I want you to take away is this idea that we've got to start taking steps. We got to start taking steps towards our own futures. And honestly, if you're in this business and you are, again, here I go, I'm going to pick on you wholesalers. But if you're just wholesaling deals and you're thinking that that's your way out, that's your answer, you might have some success in the beginning. You might be super successful. You might have a rock star wholesaling business. But I'm telling you, you've got to start thinking about different exits. You got to start thinking creatively on how to get more deals done. Um, we kind of experienced a little bit of this over the past year, particularly within the last few months. We've seen property values dropping. I mean, they're dropping substantially, and I just think I just think it would be a much wiser decision if you started thinking about things a little bit differently and started looking at creative financing as a way to, I mean, you could go full bore into creative financing and be, I mean, like I said, I've built this over the last 7, 8 years. That's all I do. It's all I've ever done. But this could also be a great supplement to your existing business. And I think it's a smart move. And forget all this stuff. But you're going to hear this as well. But I'm going to tell you to forget this. You hear people talking about how right now creative financing it makes sense to do it right now, they say. But it's total baloney. This is something that should be a part of your knowledge base, part of your business. And look, we've been doing it since I started in this business. My very first few deals were subject to deals, and I haven't stopped doing those since day one. So don't listen to anyone that tells you that right now is a good time to get into creative financing, and particularly subject to. It's baloney. Anytime is a good time to get into creative financing. You can do it at any time. It's not like the loans that were, and they're telling you this obviously because the interest rates have risen over the past few months. But you got to understand, on an annual basis, there are about 24 million loans written. All right. There are 24 million loans written on average. I'll say 20 just to be safe. On average annually. And if you look at that from last summer and prior, about 10 years, you'll see that the interest rates on those loans it's like free money. So why wouldn't you concentrate on that all the time? If you're going to take something subject to, right, you're looking at that interest rate on those loans. So why is now the best time to do it? It's not. Any time is the best time to do it. All right. So don't believe the hype. Don't listen to. This is just my advice. Don't believe the hype. Don't listen to this catchy, gimmicky. Right now is the best time to get into subject to. It's baloney. All right. So anyway, that's my rant for today. I feel better. Thank you. All right, guys. Does anybody? Okay, Jonathan. Let's see what you're saying here. You recently discussed selling a partial. I'm not sure what you mean there, Jonathan. Maybe we can clarify that a little bit, or something. I don't know what you mean. Recently discussed selling a partial. So do you mean that you recently discussed selling partial equity in a deal? I think maybe that's what you mean, but I'm not 100% sure. Excuse me. If you want to clarify that real quick, I'm happy to. We'll happy to address it. But I am reaching the end of the video here, so. All right, guys. Does anybody else have anything? There we go. Instead of selling a note, we discussed selling partial payments. Very good. Yeah. So in the form of equity, was that in the form of equity, Jonathan? I'm assuming that it was. There's a big delay here, I think, with Facebook as well. While he's typing that, hopefully he's answering the question. But while he's typing that, I'm gonna go out here and look in the group and see if we actually have anyone that has posted anything yet. Let's see. Bill Quigley, he said yes. I'm not sure what portion that was, Bill, but thanks for the comment anyway, buddy. All right. I think that's going to do it for us. Jonathan, you know how to get a hold of me if you want to clarify. There we go. Selling the first note. Dollars for the seller. Yep. Yep. Okay. We're gonna have to discuss that a little bit later because I'm still a little bit confused. I know this is not exactly. Um, it's not like we're face to face talking live, so I'm gonna have to get some clarification for you. But anyway, that's gonna do it for us, guys. Appreciate everyone joining. Hope you have a fantastic, solid rest of your weekend, and we will catch you guys next week. All right, take care, guys.